Derek Waters, you created Drunk History on Comedy Central, which is nominated this year for an Emmy for Best Variety Sketch Series. It features historical reenactments based on the retellings of drunk storytellers that you bring on. I remember my initial thought, watching the show was like somebody's going to get alcohol poisoning and you're going to get sued. Where does this idea
Yeah.
first come from, and how do you pitch something like that?
Well, I was worried about all those same things, but I decided instead of pitching it, I would just make it, and I made it for YouTube. We made a couple on YouTube and Funny or Die, and so it was sort of like if there was a pitch, it was to make it on our own and then let a network see like, oh, okay, now I get this, because you can't pitch the show. I mean, unless you just want to hear people say, hell no, please leave, when we don't validate.
What's the other?
Nobody's gotten alcohol poisoning. Everybody's safe. We got a real great medic. So it's all safe and lots of fun.
Once you have that proof of concept down, you've done it on, on YouTube and on Funny or Die. What was that process of actually getting it to Comedy Central? Were they very eager right away, or did they still need any convincing?
No, they were very eager. I met with a couple networks, and some were kind of like, oh, maybe change this, maybe change that. And Comedy Central, and specifically Ken Alterman, who's in charge over there, made it very clear to let us still do it the same way we were doing it for the internet. And I think that's why I believe any show is good, is when they allow the artists to do what they feel, but also with a lot of help too. We never had, a real crew. It was usually 4 people.
It's something unique about Comedy Central right now, especially in the last few years. The shows that they have from a diverse group of comedians doing a lot of different kinds of creative work. In your category alone at the Emmys, you're up against Amy Schumer and Key and Peele, and there's just so much different kind of comedy out there right now. What's it like being in that company? Both at the Emmys and just in terms of what's on TV right now.
I think all of them. It's obviously an honor, and I still think I might have a disease, and this is just like people trying to make me feel better. But Saturday Night Live too, because that's everything of, when you start out, that's all you want to be on is Saturday Night Live. So it's I think it's really cool that this new category exists. So shows like ours, and Amy Schumer and Key and Peele and Portlandia get attention that they wouldn't get, before this. So it's really I still don't believe it's real.
And having that new category opening up the possibilities of shows like Drunk History getting nominated, was that something, were you anticipating the announcement of the nominations? Did you
No, I had no idea when the announcements happened. I knew that we had submitted it, but it was one of those things that's like, yeah, why not try? But definitely wasn't like, this is going to happen, this has got to happen. And yeah, usually that's when stuff happens, when you don't try it so hard, and but yeah, it's a cool feeling. I'm excited to go. I've never been there before.
Nominated variety shows at the Emmys, they submit a sample episode to judges, and
Right.
Drunk History entered the episode First Ladies, where you tell the stories of Frances Cleveland and Edith Wilson and Dolly Madison. What about that particular episode, stood out for you?
Well, I think, unfortunately, in history, ladies aren't really talked about, and so we wanted to do an episode that was specific just to ladies in general, and then first ladies just seemed like a smart thing to do. But every narrator in that episode, every actor is just, I don't know, I think that's just a good example of what the kind of show we want to make, where you're laughing and secretly learning about someone that you never may have heard of or knew much about. I mean, Edith Wilson was basically the original Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, that episode, that had Casey Wilson and Courtney Cox, and you've had so many other notable guest stars over the first couple of seasons on Comedy Central. Laura Dern as Nellie Bly in another episode, Jack Black as Orson Welles. What's the casting process like for the show? And has it changed as the show has over the first couple of seasons gotten more attention?
Well, definitely when we first started, well, on the internet it was just our friends, and now that it's a show, it's still like that, but now it's because more people know about it. It's still hard, but it's not as hard to just send somebody that we really like, send it to their agent and just see if they like it. When people say yes, it's just insane. So you just always aim for the stars, and then sometime you get Laura Dern on your first try, So, but yeah, the cast every year has been surreal. And this year we have Octavia Spencer, which, and Laura Dern's like that too. Like, oh wow, this is a real actress. This is a real Academy Award winner that wants to move her lips to a drunk person.
Is that a leap of faith for a lot of these actors, or once they get on set, are they really comfortable with the whole concept and the format of it?
Yeah, I think people like it because it's something they've never done before. It's new to them, and I always say it's like a music video without any music. It's just and learning the rhythm of how somebody talks. It's not about memorizing the lines. It's understanding the cadence of how they say it, and it's just fun. It's really, really fun.
When you're doing these interviews with the people who retelling these stories, people get drunk in a lot of different ways and at a lot of different times. How unpredictable an element is that of the show when you're actually filming, the contributors?
How unpredictable is it?
Yeah.
It's always unpredictable. You never know what you're gonna get. Nothing's ever planned. Nothing. I mean, the only things that are planned are, this is the story. This is what we're gonna talk about, and you're gonna teach me all about it. So when we're filming, all the funny little slip ups, those things are never planned. The only thing that is predictable is the following day, when I get an apology email, because that's what alcohol does. They don't think the narrators never believe me that they told the story. They think I should go reshoot it with somebody else, and I'm like, no, I promise you, it's really good. And when you have moments like that, I mean, I don't know a more vulnerable state than saying, oh, I'll get drunk and be on camera. So that is such a amount of trust that I'm so honored that people do that, And so when they don't think they did a good job, it makes me really excited to make the reenactment, because I know I personally, my mind would be blown if I got drunk and was telling a story, and then all of a sudden Parker Posey's moving her lips to my voice,
It does seem like, talk about the leap of faith for the actors in the reenactments, especially, even more so for the contributors who are sort of putting themselves in your hand at the kinds of drunken moments that would normally otherwise be on like TMZ or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like, it's always a fine line of, I never want to shoot anyone and to exploit them, or, in any negative way. It's, and my goal is always to make them look smarter than the people watching.
Have there been any particular moments that especially took you by surprise that you had to think on your feet?
Oh man, um, man, I wish I had a great story, Daniel. I mean, I don't know. When we were with a narrator, or just like for the show?
With the narrator, yeah.
I don't have a good story. I don't know. No, like I said, they're my friends, so that I kind of know what I'm getting into, where I know how they're gonna drink and what they're gonna yell at me about. Yeah, but I guess, yeah, that season, it was season 1 when Paget Brewster made me put on a dress. I did not see that coming, but as you learn in comedy, you just say yes. Okay, all right, I'm wearing a dress now. But I'd wear a dress again if Paget asked me.
How do you choose the historical topics to cover and who tells them? Is that just based on people you know and you know that they're certain buffs on certain subjects?
Some of them are, but where it all starts is I have a team of researchers that spend weeks finding stories, and I'll hear about, like this year, I think it was like 120 stories, and then Jeremy and I will pick out which stories that we think, we should talk about, and then I go and meet with different narrators and talk to them about what types of stories they like if I don't know them that well, and then I'll send them like 3 or 4 stories for them to choose. So it's not like homework, but I'm sending them stories that I know they're gonna love, So because the show would suck if people were just reciting something that they don't care about. They have to care about it.
The show is a comedy, of course, but since you are dealing with these real historical subjects, I'm wondering, how much actual fact checking and research is involved. Like if they're retelling the story and they get a detail wrong because, of course, they're drunk. Is there some kind of correction?
Any story that you'll ever see on the show is 100% true, except for dialogue. Like if a narrator messes up a name, always have them say the name correctly, or a date. The dates are always correct, and the general story is always 100% real. Because it'd be real easy just to make up stories, but that's why I love doing it, because it's like, oh no, this is a real story. It sounds ridiculous, but this did happen.
How long is the process of actually shooting with the contributors? From beginning to end. Getting them just the right amount of drunk, and then getting the story, and are there a lot of takes and a lot of
Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of takes. It's about 4 to 6 hours. The first hour and a half is, I like to just get over there, hang out with them, make them feel comfortable. I'm drinking with them at the top just to, let them feel comfortable. And then I'll have them tell the story in sort of like a sober version, just to let them get used to drinking and talking in front of a camera, and making sure they know it really well. And then you go, all right, let's have another drink. All right, let's tell that story again. Oh, let's do that part again. All right. Yeah. So it's about 4 to 6 hours. And yeah, as soon as they start telling you something that you've already heard, you know that it's starting to get good. Yeah.
And have you always been a history buff, or has this gotten you into history more than you had been before?
I didn't like history as a kid, but then like when I grew up and in high school, as a kid, as in middle school, I didn't like history, but in high school, I had a great history teacher named Mr. Stang, and he had amazing ability of just humanizing, historical figures. And he wasn't teaching, he was talking. And I always struggled with trying to listen to something that I knew was important, but I found boring. And I think anytime you can humanize anything, and make it easier to understand. And I think somebody drunk makes you like laugh, but also treating these historical figures just like you and I, and they're no different.
Since the reenactments you're shooting are based directly on the interviews you do with the retellers, and down to the dialogue word for word, you mentioned it's like a music video almost, doing the
Yeah.
is it does anybody ever speak the dialogue, or is it all like
Some
inside?
some actors do that. Yeah, it's playing on a huge loudspeaker, and so while we're setting up, it'll just be playing on a loop, that scene, and so the actor will just keep doing it over and over again. And some actors like to say it out loud, and some people like to just move their lips to it. I just do my lips. I can't say it out loud, or I'll mess up because I won't be able to hear it.
You yourself are in a lot of the reenactments, but you also actually directed an episode of the show last season. What was the experience like directing something like this? You know, being behind the camera.
It was the best. I mean, I always wanted to be an actor and creator, so it was my first real directing job last year, and this year I did a lot more. But it was so much fun. I love it, and I know it's not like anything else, and it's just a good place to, when I want to do it all the time. I really do. I being an actor, I'm good with talking with people, and I love people, and I love telling stories and directing. It was a blast, and I got to do it about my hometown, Baltimore. So that was a dream come true.
Is that something you think you'll pursue even like outside of Drunk History?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
And the new season of the show is coming up later this year. Have you started filming for that, or coming up with ideas for that already?
Oh, Daniel, my God, we started. What month is it? Almost August. We started last September, and we're still shooting season 3 right now. Yeah. Yeah, we've been shooting a lot. We got last year was 10 episodes. This year's 13 episodes. So September 1st is our premiere, and we go to the little town called New Jersey, and it's a great episode. But yeah, we're still shooting.
What's the length of time would you say that it takes to shoot just like one episode of the show, or are you filming a lot of stuff together at the same time?
It's crazy because it's 3 shows. There's the narration, and then I go on the road to go to the cities where the stories are about, and then we do the reenactment. So all in all, it's 11. It's an 11-month job. I think this year will probably be 13 months because I had to get my appendix taken out, not to brag. We got a little delayed.
Was it difficult getting back into the swing of things after that?
Yeah, when you get an organ removed, you always feel a little different.
I luckily have not had that experience. I had a scare back when I was a kid, but I never had it.
I'm glad you're all right.
And I'm glad you're all right also.
The great city of New Orleans. I'd never been there, so I was expecting beads and boobs, but instead I was in a hospital.
No beads and boobs in the hospital?
No. One shady nurse, but she was all right.
Well, I want to congratulate you on the show, on the upcoming 3rd season, and of course on the Emmy nomination. Best of luck with that coming up in a little over a month.
Thank you very much, pal. I appreciate it.
It was great talking to you.
Likewise. Happy hangout.